Tyla didn't just become famous, she exploded. One song turned a young South African singer into a global name almost overnight. Suddenly, Water was everywhere, on TikTok, on radio, on charts, in dance challenges, and eventually on the Grammy stage. But here's the question nobody asks enough. What happens when your dream comes true faster than you ever imagined? Because behind Tyla's glamorous performances, viral moments, awards, and international fame is a much more complicated story. And the deeper you look, the more you realize that the hardest part of Tyla's journey may not have been becoming famous. It may be staying herself after fame arrived. Before Water, Tyla was already working toward a music career. She had released music and built an audience online, but she was nowhere near the level of global attention she would eventually receive. Then came Water. The song became a worldwide phenomenon, helped massively by its viral dance challenge. According to the Recording Academy, Water became the first African song to enter the Billboard Hot 100 since 1968, eventually peaking at number 7. Tyla also won the inaugural Grammy for Best African Music Performance in 2024. That sounds like the perfect success story. But success created a new problem: expectations. Suddenly, Tyla wasn't simply an upcoming artist. She was being presented as one of the faces of a new generation of African pop, and that's a massive weight to carry. Tyla herself acknowledged that being watched so closely brings pressure. In an interview with Grammy.com, she described the situation as a lot of pressure because people were looking at her and expecting her to represent something bigger. And that brings us to the darker side, the pressure to become a symbol. Tyla's music has never fit neatly into one box. Her sound mixes amapiano, pop, and R&B, while she has repeatedly emphasized her South African roots. But when your music becomes global, people start asking questions that have nothing to do with the music. Who does she represent? What genre does she belong to? Is she an Afrobeats artist? An amapiano artist? A pop star? And then came an even more complicated conversation: her racial and cultural identity. Tyla has described herself as a colored South African, a term with a specific historical and cultural meaning in South Africa. But outside South Africa, particularly in the United States, the same word can carry a completely different and painful meaning. That difference
triggered intense online debate. During a 2024 appearance on The Breakfast Club, Tyla was asked about the controversy surrounding her identity. The conversation became awkward, and her team asked to move on. The clip went viral. Some people criticized her decision not to answer. Others defended her, arguing that audiences outside South Africa were applying their own understanding of race to a uniquely South African identity. Tyla later clarified that she had never denied being Black and explained that she identifies as colored in South Africa while also identifying as a Black woman. So this wasn't simply celebrity drama. It exposed something much bigger: how difficult it can be for an African artist to explain a complicated identity to a global audience that doesn't share the same history. And the internet doesn't always reward complicated answers. It rewards simple ones. Here's where Tyla's story gets even more interesting. After Water, people didn't just want another successful song. They wanted another Water, another viral moment, another dance, another chart record, another unforgettable performance. That is the trap of a breakout hit. Your biggest achievement can suddenly become your biggest comparison. Tyla released her self-titled debut album in 2024, expanding beyond the sound people knew from Water. Grammy.com noted that she wanted listeners to discover more sides of her music, rather than reducing her to one global hit. But imagine being a young artist and knowing that millions of people are waiting to see whether you can do it again. That is a completely different kind of pressure. And there was another setback. Tyla's original touring plans were affected by an injury, forcing the cancellation of her planned tour. For an artist whose global rise was built heavily around performance and choreography, that couldn't have been an easy moment. The dream was getting bigger, but the body still had limits, and that's something fame can't negotiate with. There's another darker side to modern celebrity. You can lose control of your own narrative. A rumor can become a headline, a repost can become controversy, a short clip can become a worldwide debate, and Tyla has experienced exactly how quickly that can happen. Even in 2026, as she entered another major chapter with her second album, A-Pop, online speculation continued surrounding her career and public image. For example, a viral claim that Tyla had signed with Roc Nation spread online, complete
with a doctored Times Square image. Tyla herself shut the rumor down, saying she wasn't signed to Roc Nation. Think about that. At her level, misinformation doesn't just stay a rumor between a few people. It can become part of the public conversation before the artist even has a chance to respond. And now, Tyla has entered perhaps the biggest chapter of her career yet. Her second studio album, A-Pop, arrived in July 2026, and she announced her most ambitious world tour to date. Sony Music describes the album as a 14-track project and highlights her continued global expansion. But almost immediately, another controversy showed how complicated global fame can become. A planned Lego stop on her A-Pop World Tour disappeared from the itinerary after backlash and boycott calls in Nigeria connected to tensions surrounding xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa. Neither Tyla nor her management publicly explained the removal at the time, so it would be irresponsible to claim exactly why the date disappeared. But the controversy revealed something important. When you become a global African superstar, people don't just judge your music. They judge what they believe you represent. And that may be the real darker side of Tyla's rise. Because Tyla's story isn't really about a secret scandal. It's about pressure. The pressure to repeat a global hit. The pressure to represent an entire continent. The pressure to explain an identity rooted in a complicated history. The pressure to perform. The pressure to respond to rumors. And the pressure to remain authentic while millions of people are constantly telling you who they think she should be. Tyla once dreamed of becoming the African pop star she didn't see growing up. Now she has become exactly that. But becoming the symbol is one thing. Surviving the expectations that come with being the symbol is something else entirely. And perhaps the most interesting part of Tyla's story hasn't happened yet. Because with A-Pop and her biggest world tour ahead, the question is no longer, can Tyla become a star? She already has. The real question is, can Tyla build a career big enough to survive the expectations created by Water without losing the identity that made people notice her in the first place? And if she can, that could be the chapter that turns Tyla from a viral superstar into a lasting global icon. What do you think? Is Tyla's biggest challenge behind her? Or is it only beginning?